controlling all the audio. So you should hear when the remote people come.
I'm like, I already read that, so I don't even click on it.
They'll talk over
Where I
the
should highlight.
house sound.
Are you on like multiple search where you get the exact same?
Okay,
And
so
that's
that's
turned
three.
on.
From the state
That one's on.
like,
Okay, so it's
Okay.
recording.
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Like
Mhm.
KSDE
Cool.
one,
Just holler.
the new one that just
I'm
came
gonna
out,
be back there.
that I've
in that
gotten
meeting.
from
Chris will be able to-
If I get like
about
a-
the conference request for the
They'll
fall
help
KSDE
somebody
fall conference.
Get it from Lee, get it from several other people
I
I
mean, I
don't
got it
know.
from like 5 or 6 people, and then my
Curriculum
business
will serve.
manager forwards it to me, and then
Yeah.
my superintendent forwards it to me, and then my principals forward it.
I know.
And I'm like, what?
All right. Max, it looks like he's at Max work. Morning, Max.
Hi, how are you?
Here. Max, can you hear us?
Not yet.
Did I get a thumbs up?
He did get a thumbs
Okay,
up.
good. Okay,
Thumbs up again.
all right. Well, we will start our agenda this morning. Why don't we go around the table? I see some new faces and don't know everyone, and I'm sure everyone doesn't know each other. So just tell us who you are, where you're at, what you do, and
Audrey Austin, I'm at Maxville. I am a 5-6 ELA teacher, but I do the curriculum for the grade school.
Cindy Couchman from Bueller, and I just listened to my Power of Positive Summit. Is anybody doing that Power of Positive Summit thing? No? Okay.
I saw that and wanted to.
Okay, well, so you're not supposed, but it said, you know, when you say what people do, you're supposed to say, I help people, and then follow that. I help people become better instructors.
very good.
So anyway.
So what's your real job?
But I know, but I was like, but really, I am the Director of Learning and Instruction. Well, actually, now I have a new title.
What's your
It
new
doesn't
title?
change anything. Assistant Superintendent.
Oh,
But
yes.
it doesn't really change.
You still have the same job.
Same job, same pay. Just,
Did they offer you that for next year, like to make you an assistant superintendent? Or?
no, it's effective now.
Okay.
But that's, I think it's simply because of, my license changed, so.
Okay, you're Bueller now.
Mhm, yeah.
I'm Jody Grover from Cheney, and I do a lot of things, but I'm the CTE coordinator. I do the curriculum for K-12 for STEM specifically, and then when Sherry Conrad took over elementary, each building principal kind of does their own curriculum, and since she's an expert in it, so maybe the other principals are not, and so I help them. I still get to go in the classroom with the middle school and do engineering and all that kind of stuff. The college career director is my actual title. So.
I'm Katie Nambach. I'm the ag teacher, everyday advisor, and CTE coordinator at Stafford. So I thought I had a different meeting in Hutch this morning and found out that one wasn't for me. So I came in this as well.
Just keep doing
So I'm just
Great.
here to learn. So yeah, I'm doing a Pippin grant and I'm helping with CTE courses and drafting and all that stuff.
Yep. I'm Kim Wolf, and I'm at Stafford, and I'm principal there. And you're representing as, I guess, curriculum director.
I'm Becky Stratford from Valley Center. I'm the director of learning from that district.
Carrie Schultz, and I'm from Cunningham, 4th grade teacher, and also I'm on the curriculum team.
And Holly Francis, I'm the assistant soup in Augusta. Thanks for coming, everybody. Tamara sent me an email. Let me go to it, and she has some updates. So I think I'll read through these, and then I'll go through my email. It looked like she gave me more description. But May 6th, IPS workshop, which I would assume is an individual plan of study. Kansas Vision posters. Hopefully there's more information in the descriptive email. IPS workshops and ongoing support for career advocacy and implementation of student programming to meet the needs of individual plans of study. And then high school principal data, professional learning, National Student Clearinghouse, SEEK, ACT needs. So let me pull up my email real quick, and maybe there's a little bit more description.
13,388. God, I love you, Holly. Thank you.
She's one of us.
That way I can always go back to my email and say, I sent this to you. Look, I'm forwarding it from this date.
But are those unread?
No, most of them are red. Some of them I just skip, you know,
I do
'cause-
too.
yeah. All right. The first one update to share is that we are organizing a May 6th IPS workshop. After the first schedule of workshops came out, we called the state to see if we could also hold one. They weren't going to hold one at all service centers, but have decided to let us offer one. So it's probably like the one that I went to in Clearwater yesterday, and they've offered them around the state, which it was very good. I have some information on that for today. I know many have already attended, so I would like to hear about the value and any helpful feedback we can give KSDE for the one they will hold in May. We are also looking at offering more counseling and advocacy trainings for next year to help schools, principals, teachers, counselors with the IPS implementation so it doesn't become a checklist, which is good. And any other professional learning opportunities you would like to see at ESDAC organized, please let me know. One that I questioned is helping high school principals gather, analyze, and utilize data. And again, I know in our district, when we have administrator meetings, I spend time going to some of these websites and kind of taking them on a tour and letting them know what data is available. And then they have discussions about how, as a high school principal or middle school principal or an elementary principal, can I use this data to make informed decisions about a variety of things that are going on in the building, or Dr. Black and I look at the data in a different way. A lot of that we also, or I share information with the board so they can go in and access that data as well and look at it. And of course they look at different things than our staff does, so. The next thing on the agenda, I did go to our CAC meeting, the state CAC meeting on Tuesday. And I'll just go through some of the summary points that were discussed. What CAC is it's an advisory council. Karen Dooling and I are on that committee from this group. She broke her leg, so she hasn't been able to go. She usually helps me report out, but really, the nice thing about being on CAC is that you kind of get a heads up on what's to come, or they do ask on occasion for feedback from us, and because we're out in the field. Sometimes the concern with me, and I think the other committees, is this group of 60 people, we have this information, but then a lot of times it's not shared out with everybody else in the state. And I mean, gosh, it would sure be nice if everybody else knew about this or kind of had a heads up. So that's kind of the purpose of me sharing this, or Karen sharing this back with your group, so you kind of know what's to come maybe, or what they're thinking, or troubleshooting issues, and why things are happening the way that they
I
are.
really appreciate it. I mean, I really do. Thank you for taking, you take really, if that's you, you
Yeah.
take really great notes, and I always learn a lot.
Okay. So Dr. Mary Perry, she's in charge of CETE. So she comes to these meetings, especially during times when there is crisis, and tries to talk the committee through what happened. So as you know, last week there was the construction accident in Lawrence, which caused server issues at KU. And not only was it with CETE, but servers went down at the medical center in KU, or in Lawrence, and also at KU. For example, like at the medical center, they lost everything. So they had to start there because medical records, et cetera, they couldn't access them, and that was kind of the first priority. But of course at KU, the servers went down. You know what it's like in your district. And what happened, I guess, is there was a construction worker that was reading a plan and he had it flipped. Oops. So he started cutting lines the wrong way. So yes, as a result, that's why everything went down. You probably all know it wasn't kite. It's not a kite issue, but unfortunately, it puts a bad taste in everybody's mouth because they think it's kite. Here we go again. Things aren't working right, and people get frustrated. But it wasn't kite. It was because of this line cutting issue that caused all of the problem. You can read the information there. about what happened. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that, but one thing that they did as a result, they decided to have a backup server added to another location. So if, for example, if the server went down, we can pull in. Yeah, we probably need to pull in another table. Because of what happened, they only had the servers there. So what would happen in the future if something happened and the servers went down, they would be able to push them out to the backup servers, and they will in the future. So there should only be, whoa. I'm glad nobody was hurt. There should only be like a 30-minute lapse in not having access. So
Yeah.
is it good now?
Holly, where did this go?
On the table, it just allows for sound. There we go. Resituate a little bit. The next bullet just really talks about, you know, how the processing has been slower than 10 minutes. One thing that that should be back, I think as of yesterday, it should be down to 10 minutes again. I think the day before it was around 15 minutes, and I talked to my test people and they said it was much better. There were some issues that were going on, and they were resolving them, and I think, as I said, they should be fixed by now, so it should be back to normal processing time. One thing that people are concerned about is the, you know, students that were testing during this time, lost, you know, questions were missed and reactivating and things like that. So what they're going to be doing is during those dates that this issue was happening, they're going to collect data to compare the results to that week and to the others, and possibly throwing out some
I'm glad
results.
to hear that, because
Me
I
too.
know for a fact that I have students who
Didn't answer.
they were in the middle of part 1, and when they went to log in again, it sent them on to part 2.
And it won't let
they-
you go back.
Well, and so we're gonna have lower scores because we have unanswered questions.
So they're going to have to throw out, you know, so they're going to compare that data and see, you know, what's up. Feedback will also be collected about testing to ensure that scheduling is smoother for 16-17. I guess what that means, well, actually I know what that means, is they'll send feedback, information out to the field, whether it's in the form of a survey. There was a lot of discussion about, and I totally agree. When we first got information about the access codes, it was part 1, part 2, or part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and all of a sudden stages and sessions and soft breaks and all this information shows up, and it was very confusing to those who were in charge of getting the access codes, and the science assessment was an example. I get frantic calls. Oh my gosh, there's 3 stages. Does that mean that we needed to schedule for 3 days
Right.
instead of 2? You know, and communication came out that said you could do part 1 and 2 together in 45 minutes, and part 3 you didn't need to schedule any more time. But the issue was people didn't know that, so there's that stress and anxiety and panic about that. You know, also I think that they've discussed that the language is confusing with a stage and a soft break and a section and a part. What is the difference? So they're going to clean that up for next year. The other thing they talked about, and again, I don't administer the assessments and haven't seen it, but there's a button where the kids click end test session, and it's really not ending. It sends them on, so that it's supposed to be, they're going to change
Isn't
that.
the soft break? Is that
I
what's
don't know.
considered?
But it
soft break?
should not say end, because
Right.
it can,
We thought it was ended and there was 2 more sessions. And so the
Mhm.
teachers stopped them.
It's-
And then
it
they said
needs
they're
to
not
say
done.
continue on or
And then
something,
we had to
and
do
they're aware of that.
next day.
Right.
They're aware of that. Then they also talked about, especially for the younger kids and really for everyone, is putting some visuals in there, whether it's coloring like green and red or pictures or something, so it's not confusing to the student that is accessing the Kite client. So honestly, they truly are trying to acquire feedback and make improvements to the testing environment and communicating out to other people. So if we can be patient and, you know, wait till next year, that should occur. I talked about the data being collected on the results from the week that the incident occurred. DLM will change somewhat next year. There will be more control with the rostering. All of the, we'll call them the alternates, will be in DLM next year. I guess that means social studies will move over, but obviously social studies won't be tested next year because it's an every other year. But OPA 21 next year will run through Kite, not Questar. Just FYI.
I know, we like.
But it did go really well.
It did
I
go
talked
really
to,
well. It makes me a little nervous.
so we'll see.
So will it be the same test, just a different platform?
Yeah. The other thing that they said, and you'll probably start hearing about this, is, you know, Alaska uses Kite as well. Well, they had all the issues, and they just contacted CETU the other day and said, we're done. They stopped testing in the middle of it. They lose all their funding, title funding as a result of it. So they're going to try to put out a communication piece to let people know about that and the reasoning behind it. They talked a little bit about scheduling and how there's lots of remote places in Alaska, and with the window, for example, they take off school for 2 weeks because it's whaling season, and they go do whaling, and there's a lot of things that are done virtually, and with the issues. Alaska is just a totally different kind of state than we are. So that's out there. So if you start hearing about Alaska dropping testing, they did, but realize that they're losing all their funding as a result of not doing it, and which I would be a little frightened if we lost all of our title funding. So any other questions about that?
Is there any talk about extending the date past May 12th since we lost some time with the outages?
No, that did not come up.
Okay.
Test security and monitoring visits. I know I went out and visited Valley Center the other day with Jill from Andover. But honestly, things are going smoothly. I was out at Valley Center when the incident occurred, and one school, they got the total error message on the screen. The other one, they actually continued testing, but there were issues with the mic, the sound, and things like that. And I think from what they said at the meeting the other day, it was a result of it really not functioning at full capacity. That's why you lost it. They said there were some issues too with, and it's just random with the sound, where they did talk about, I don't know if I put it in here, but it gives instructions on if you lose sound, you actually have to log them off, go back in, and what it does is it pulls the settings, and you have to go back in and reset the settings on the computer when that happens. And I have directions in here somewhere. So
on the physical computer or
on the physical computer. That's what they said. And it's just, they're not sure what's going on, because it just, when I was at Valley Center, there was a lab of maybe 10 kids.
Well, we're still having a few issues, particularly with students who, I mean, it's.
I think I have it
EMTs
in
and-
here.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw it on the listening portion.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a minute, but I did type some
Okay.
specific directions on what you're supposed to do as a
Okay.
result. I know that there are,
Control Alt Delete in Kite, is that what you're talking?
Yeah, where's it
Reset
at?
Speakers, right where it says listening portion
Oh.
issues, in that bulleted
oh, there it
list.
is. Okay, so I'll get to that in a minute. Kite support, as you know, they did say Kite has hired lots of support people. Supposedly from, at least from the field, they're doing a better job. You really should be getting an email that says they've gotten and received your ticket, and then there should be a follow-up email that it's been resolved with the description. So if you're not getting that, you should be. I do know that one thing that they said causes an issue, and they're having issues with too many people. Like, I will sit here on hold for 30 minutes while I'm waiting for Kite. Well, when you do that, it bogs down the system. So just be aware that causes that, but I'm still gonna do it because that's the only way you can get through to them. I will say that there's been times when I can't get through, and if you email them pretty quickly, they're pretty quick about getting back and resolving the issue via email through the support online.
I've had an issue resolved through email when I was still waiting. I thought, I'm gonna see
Exactly.
which one's faster.
They are pretty quick, unless it's some strange thing. But you know, when you call, you realize that they probably dealt with that one issue 100 times. and we haven't dealt with it. I mean, maybe you have, and then I can
Right.
tell the teacher, oh, I dealt with that yesterday. This is the issue, and resolve it. But they're pretty good about knowing what's going on and fixing.
For those of you that are using email, can I ask how you're communicating your issues to them?
I just emailed a cap_support.
No.
That, and then
I mean, like student identifiable information.
Just the number. That's all you can provide is the ID number, no name, is what they said.
Are
And
they
there's a
just
little
like putting a
preface.
paragraph on all responses now?
evidently.
Because
Because I
people
feel
are
like I'm
report-
getting reprimanded every time.
No, I
send an
think it's
email to
just
Kite.
because I did it the first couple times. I sent the name and the
I
ID.
did too.
And
I
then,
got
so I think they're just
in trouble.
reminding us that you're not supposed to transfer that
Mhm.
information. It's not a yeah, I don't think they're
Okay.
trying to punish
So
you.
it's not me.
You weren't getting your hands on.
It's just part,
I
and
just
just as
sent it again
a
this
friendly
morning
reminder.
and I got another message. I'm like,
I did
okay.
one time put the name, not the ID, because I couldn't remember which one I was supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to both. I went with
Yeah.
the name rather than the ID, and then,
And they just and it's not like they turn you in, or I mean, they just say, don't forget, you can't.
well, I already have black marks coming.
No, so
One of the workers said, don't get one, I told them. Yeah,
see,
Well,
and that's
see,
not right.
And
Okay.
the other
It is the
time they
ID.
asked for the ID and not the name.
It is the ID.
The
It is
last
the
one I
ID
got
number.
said ID. I mean,
Okay.
It's supposed to be.
Supposed to be ID.
So one time I sent an email with just the IDs on it, but I had my signature that goes out on all of my emails and it says Valley Center, all that. I got an email back and saying, it does no good to send this ID number if we can still track what school this is going
Well,
to.
don't they have to know what school it is?
No, they'll just
Oh,
reply
I've been
back to your
saying,
email.
like, at this
I
middle
always put the school.
in this district, because if they have to, I don't know.
The one I sent this morning has only numbers. And what the problem is,
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
I don't know.
I always tell them the school. Because you have, sometimes there's like
I'm on a
duplicates.
list. I'm getting my hand slapped.
Okay, listening portion, again, there are random issues with kids not, like, the day before they were able to access sound and the next day they can't.
Right,
So
that.
this is what they told us to do. After a soft break, it's causing sound to disappear. This is what they said. So you Control Alt Delete in Kite and reset your speakers on your computer. Seems to be random, not sure what is going on at this point in time. They're working on it. That's what we got.
So like, will they send this out? I mean, I feel lucky that you're sharing this with us, but like, will they send
I don't
something?
know.
Because that's not,
See, I don't know. That's my concern with being on CAC, and I want to be on it because I want to know.
right.
But
and
what
we're
about all the
thankful that you're
200
there.
and some other people that aren't there that don't know? That's why I think it's important that, well, I'm sharing at least with
Yeah,
6 or
thank
7
you.
other people, but and there are certain things where they said we are going to communicate this out to the field, but not all this stuff.
Right.
Machine scored assessment updates. Currently, 25% of students currently have been scored, I guess, as of
Wow.
April 4th. So they said it's going very smoothly. They haven't had any trouble with issues. One thing,
Has anybody scored in here already?
Now we're getting ready to.
Do you
on the
know-
ID.
Do you have scored?
Yesterday.
Okay, so I'm curious, like, so when you go through your training, do you get to choose what grade level you're in? Yes, so I
and
can
then
tell
it's
them,
specific to the grade.
I'm
and it's
assigning.
specific to the grade,
Once
right?
you get in, yeah, once you
So
pick the grade.
they'll need to know what grade level they're because you can choose any of them, so if I want them to score 4th grade,
Right.
They pick 4th grade
they
in a
pick
drop.
4th grade, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do that, that's when we're doing ours, it's April, no, May 2nd, sorry.
Tracy, you guys want to sit over here?
We didn't have trouble yesterday, Friday.
Get over here.
They kept when I went to the third
can scoot
component, and it
There's
just kept
plenty
shutting
of
back to the
space right over
Sunday,
here.
so they couldn't do it. So,
Okay.
They called in. They called me.
Some more information on the multidisciplinary performance task. Scoring dates have been provided by most districts participating. They just let us know. Training materials are online. Usernames and passwords were sent out. You can still add users, but know that it's a week turnaround on processing. So like if you're scoring in a few days, those people aren't going to get entered because it takes a week to process. Eventually, they're going to eliminate the ability to do that, but
This
right now,
Friday, I think.
Oh,
I got
so
an
really?
I
you'll
got
get
an
an email, so
that
you
it's
better get 'em
not.
in.
This Friday, yeah.
How were the usernames and passwords sent?
Emailed.
It's
And
in
I
a
didn't get
spreadsheet.
mine.
Teachers? I was gonna say.
No, no,
To
to
you, I
you.
think.
Whoever the lead scorer
And
is.
I
for
had
the
to
district.
email.
Whoever
I
the
emailed
lead
Dr.
scorer
Perry
is.
And said, I have not gotten anything. And I went through everything. I went through my drafts, my junk, and so they had to send it again, but they had to like, I think it's, I don't know if we filtered it out because it went to
It might have
open
opened up.
So who
attachment.
did you send?
Mary, call
Mary.
Mary Matthew or email Mary Matthew. I have her email on here. I'll check it in a minute. Just remind me. Reader, oh, there's some language confusion. The verbiage of reader, the reader is the scorer. So just know that they brought that up when you see
In our whole
reader
district's
in the directions or
Not
whatever.
quit changing. I mean, they float from one name to another.
The
It's like
language issue.
stages.
Yeah.
Because third grade.
She said weekly updates are gonna start to go out. So you'll be getting them. Scoring's going smoothly so far. Just to know that the calibrating and the training is less than an hour. It only
Oh,
takes about
good.
45 minutes.
Cool.
Yes, that is good news.
Okay?
Yay.
And the PowerPoint has audio in it, but
Oh, turn it off like this.
La, la, la.
I'm gonna turn it off and have my people read it from the PowerPoint.
ESS implementation, this was very brief. They really just talked about schools on improvement. They're changing the name to CSI. Don't ask me what it means. I don't know. 5% of title schools in Kansas will be placed on improvement, which they said is about 30 to 33 buildings, and you get placed on a 4-year plan. That's all I know. They talked about it for like 2 minutes, and I just tried to type whatever it is they said, and I was probably multitasking and didn't get it all down. But discussion related to testing footprint. Data currently provided on state results is unusable. So we had this huge conversation for a long time about the field, being your teachers and your administrators, not valuing the state assessments any longer because they don't feel like the data that they're getting is usable. Your teachers are used to having that standards-based report that has the indicators and their class, and they're no longer getting that. So as we talked, they're working to, and I have some sample reports, at least the district report and the school report, where they're trying to make it more useful so you can make decisions at the building level or at the district level. They didn't share a new student report, but they are making that more user-friendly for parents. And I know it's in here somewhere, but there will be, you know how they had an interpretive guide this year? It was kind of confusing. They're revamping that, making it easier. And they're also creating a parent a better interpretation guide. Let me go back. They're making one for teachers. So like when you're training, so your teachers know how to communicate it to your parents, they're creating that. Then they're creating a separate one for parents. Good. And there'll be some training and such on that. The hope is that at that KSDE conference, they'll have a session on that. So they're explaining how to go back to your district and talk to them about teachers, here's yours. Parents, this is for them, and how to communicate and all of that. So they know that was an issue this year. It was very icky. Now using other measures. Oh, the discussion was because the state assessment data hasn't been reliable or usable the last few years, districts have other measures that they're using to monitor and make decisions about instruction. For example, in our district, we have NWA, we have MAP, or we have DIBELS Next or Ames Web, things like that are common assessments, which you should be using. So that was just, again, that's just a discussion point. Again, need to make the data usable, be patient, and hope that the new reports are more informative. And that's the whole thing. We're transitioning, trying to make it better. The hope is next year that people see some value in the reports and are able to use the data. Discussion about multidisciplinary performance tests and the regular assessment. Issue with having to wait on scores because of the hand machine scored multidisciplinary performance task and the math. The issue is the discussion was we're having to wait forever to get the data back, and people want it like it used to be, instant. So what the conversation was to possibly, continue doing the assessment, but possibly split out the scores so you can get the results for the machine scored stuff like that. And then later on, there's another report that comes out with the results of the other assessment. So that was part of the discussion and suggestion or feedback that we gave them. Fall conference, we gave some feedback and they talked about feedback they received last year, more breakout sessions instead of 2, maybe having 3, shortening the morning session. So we're not sitting there for 4 hours about ready to pee our pants. You know how that was. Not that it wasn't good, but it's just really long. New test coordinator separate. The session that you have for new test coordinators, having it early on and in a bigger room. We also talked about having the networking session. Last year we had one CAC did, and it was at the end of the day. It was like they had food, but nobody really knew what to do or who to ask questions. So we talked about maybe having a breakout session for CAC and having regional reps, like the people from our region, having our names, what region we represent. So the people from, let's say it'd be all of you, you would know to come to my table, or Jill's or Karen's. And then during the year, that would be your support. Those would be your CAC people that you talk to or that you email, and kind of building a relationship with those specific CAC members, so you're comfortable asking questions and things like that. How to interpret, they talked about it, the importance of having a breakout session on how to interpret the reports. So, and that was an issue this year. Again, it goes back to that interpretive guide, or when you're looking at the reports, what does the data and the information mean? Update for next year. Again, remember, no social studies next year. It's confusing because last year they had the field test and this year they had the real assessment. So we did have it 2 years in a row, but it goes back to that prior, you know, how we've always done it, where social studies, real, or history of government is just an every other year assessment. We talked about ELPA going to KITE, and DLM, all will move to DLM, and nothing will be like the social studies one is separate now. And then that's it.
Question.
Shoo, yes.
Okay, so the MTPT was finished before spring break, basically. And we waited to give it to like the last 2 weeks, because we had like a week and a half.
Yeah.
And they were done. And we had 2 kids that were absent.
Oh.
So what
Okay.
happens with their scores? What happens with those kids? What do
Partial. They'll get a partial score. So what'll happen is they'll get a partial score, and I'm not sure what that's going to look like on the report. You won't be punished for that. You obviously have to code it somehow, that like an SC code.
Right.
They were gone, but it'll just be for that portion of the assessment. And when the results come together, like if it was supposed to meld with another one, they're just going to get some type of a partial. So I would assume, and they didn't talk about this, but like say ELA, the MDPT dumped into ELA, or maybe it dumped into social studies too. Now their score will just be, they'll just get a partial, and but their score will just be whatever it is without the MDPT. That's
so
what they
do
made it.
we just call the state and get that special code?
Is
that one of those that we-
say?
Because I know
well,
there's a truant code, but if they weren't truant, it was.
but if they were absent, there is a code for, like, if they're gone for so many days, isn't there an SC code for that? Like if they're gone during testing.
Yeah, I have it. It's an absentee code thing that.
It's in the exam, it's in your SC code, and it hasn't, but I think there's one of, I can't remember what the it's like 39, I can't remember the number.
All right,
So-
I'll look on the book.
Did they talk, well, I know you said that they were gonna throw some things out. We've had some kids, and normally wouldn't be a big deal, but they're special needs kids that were in the middle of testing in the computer. And anyway, they lost all their testing. And so for the second stage of ELA, well, you can't go to stage 3 unless you're done with stage 2. So the teachers really don't want to have him go back and retake those test questions.
I had that issue actually with one of my principals, and I told him to call Kite Sport. I don't know what happened. They were in 2, and it was during that time. They weren't done with it, but it ended, and they moved to 3. And it says if you want to reactivate it, like they
It'll
lose
wipe
all
out.
of, it'll wipe out all of
Right.
The
a
next
previous
part.
session. So I haven't gotten an answer
You
yet.
haven't, okay.
I was gone. I think it was on Tuesday, and I said, you need to call Kite because so I haven't heard back yet. But that was an issue that came up with us as well.
Were there issues with the DLM as far as where a student would pick an answer and then could not unpick it?
That was not discussed. I don't know. So you'd have to contact them about that, or the state. that did never, nothing came up about DLM or being issues or anything like that. Okay, anything else? If you think of other things, we have one more meeting this year, so if you have anything you want me, that would be a good thing too. If you have anything you want me to bring up or Karen Dooling to bring up at that meeting, just shoot me an email and I'll be more than happy to voice our opinion as a group. Okay. All right. These, I just scanned them because they didn't give us electronic copies, obviously, but here are working documents of the school and the district report and kind of where they're at. They really did try to use feedback. These are in color, and it's much easier to interpret when they're in color. Let me see if I brought, give me a second here. I don't know if I brought the color copy. I don't think I did. I think I left them on my desk, but yeah, I didn't bring them. This is an example of ELA school report. So it'll have, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but it has the grade level information, school district and state. Then it goes through and has like the percentages, school district and state. Then this is really good because it's color coded. I know it looks very confusing right now, and it's just it's all pluses, but it does break down. And as a school, I think this is helpful, where it includes information about overall reading, and it breaks it down, overall writing, and it breaks it down. Now, the one thing they said, and I'm not sure if they're gonna, this does not include the multidisciplinary performance task score. This is just the ELA, a regular assessment. So when it's talking about the writing here, it's the part of the writing that's in the ELA assessment, not the multidisciplinary performance task. But you know, at least it breaks it down, and you can really look at what areas. It kind of reminds me of NWA, where it breaks it down into the categories that are assessed, and you can kind of see if you're exceeding, meeting, below. Insufficient data, I'm not sure what that would mean unless you had a small group, I can imagine.
Did you say these are coming or these are out right
No,
now?
no, this is a sample. I'm just sharing this with you.
Because I've never seen this before.
And it's in color, like exceeds will be a blue, and then, so it's visually easy to interpret. And you can see there's no equal or minuses here, but there will be. Then it goes down. Ooh. It has a description of each of the categories, so you know what that means. Then I guess that, oh, then there's a description of the performance levels.
And that's just for this school, right?
Now here I'm moving to this is a district report. I think I have a school one for math too. Let me see if I put it in here. Yeah, there's a math. Oh, no, I did district. So that's a school report. They only gave us 3. They didn't give us all of them. So here's a district performance. You look at it. Is it the first page? There we go. District. Okay, so here's your district. It's the same, but you know, overall, and it's district and state. Yeah, this is the language arts one. District performance, same. And here you see how you can see the different things in here. I don't know why they, anyways, it's just a sample.
Maybe those insufficient data, maybe they weren't tested on it. I mean, maybe there wasn't a question about
Maybe
it.
at a certain grade level they weren't tested. Yeah, I don't know. Dang it, I wish I would have brought the color copy, but they are pretty. We were very excited. I mean, because they actually listened. Because when they asked us for our feedback a couple months ago, and we gave it, and they have kind of tried to. Mary Matthew is now working for Kite or CETE. And the nice thing about her is she retired from, was it Shawnee or somewhere, but she can see it from the perspective of a teacher and someone like us, is where before I don't think they had anybody working that got that, and that is so important. So again, similar report. And then here's this is one for math. So I didn't show you the school one, but it'll be the same, just broken down a little different. So here's math. And then here this is how the math will be broken down. It so reminds me of NWA, but and how it's kind of broken down. But really, I mean, if you think about school and district improvement planning, you can really look, I think that is useful data because you can look at it by grade and you can kind of see what specific areas that you maybe need to focus on in math and ELA, and go from there. We didn't have that last year, and it really was. I'm like, oh, I can't do anything with these results, and I just kind of moved on. But this I can. I mean, you really can have some good conversations with this. So I'm very excited.
I'm wondering if those X's are like the insufficient data, if that's.
Well, and maybe
like
not
if
enough
students didn't-
questions.
Yeah, not enough, or if they got tiered differently, and so.
Could be. I don't know. Or just based on the grade that they're not covered. I don't know. It describes what the questions are like, so that would be something to help you focus in making improvements. And a description of, again, the performance levels. Okay? Pretty good. Hopefully next time they'll have the student report, so I can share that with you. Yeah. We're like, where's the student?
Yeah,
They must be still.
Well, if they're
working on it.
visual like that, that's gonna be so pleasing for a parent and a teacher. I mean, that'll be.
They try to just make it, I don't want to say dumb it down, but
just
make it
Yeah.
simple. They took out the claim piece that everybody was like, even us were like, for a while. Teresa, hey, do you have any, we'll skip and come back. Plans of study, I just left this on here because we had conversation prior about what different districts are doing with individual plans of study. So these will remain on here as we continue to talk. I guess we could kind of go back through, and if there's anything that you've added or changed, you can share. And please, you type in here. I don't want to. I'm being lazy. So we'll start with Renwick, and then like if Mindy has any updates, please type it in there, Mindy, and then just share verbally as well.
Yeah, we hired 2 career coaches at the high school, and they are gonna teach us Success for All. And, yeah. And to our freshmen, and then they're offering career classes for the upper grade kids, and then we're also doing a senior internship. So when I get in there, I'll tell you about it.
Okay. Maze isn't here. Valley Center? Anything
Nothing's
new?
really changed. No, we went to the meeting. I took a whole team of people yesterday to the individual plans of study.
It was good.
Workshop.
was
I
good.
really enjoyed it. Yeah,
Were
I
you
was
there?
glad to get
We
that
in the morning. I was
information.
there.
I was really impressed with what Goddard is doing. I felt
And
like
Maze.
Maine
Oh,
South
yeah.
was awesome too. It's just some of the things that Goddard was doing more aligned with what I'm envisioning kind of with parent-teacher conferences and having it be more of a team approach.
I missed that part. I don't know why.
We can
But-
talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do, 'cause I want to talk
It
about
was very
conferences.
interesting.
I freaked a little bit yesterday when he, or I don't remember the first lady that was talking, but said, if you're already using a preferred vendor,
You don't get the.
you will not qualify for the grant that will help you with the startup costs should you choose to
Right.
change a vendor. Well, in my mind, we've been dabbling with career cruising, or not career cruising, dabbling with Cooter for years. And so I immediately went up to Jay Scott afterwards and I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't know how Cooter's going to become a preferred vendor, but if they do, I'm really upset. But then my high school principal reminded me, we have no contract with them and we're not even formally doing individual plans of study yet. So I think we can get around it. I think we'll be fine because we're looking at Naviance. Is our teachers that have looked at it really want that one. Of course, that's like the Cadillac. It's very expensive. So of course, that's the one we want. But anyway.
But weren't they even talking about the grant for changing of our student management system, like Skyward is talking about getting it so that you can put portfolios, kids can do their, all of those, they could become a preferred vendor for that as well.
Skyward would?
But it would
Did
be
you hear
like, if
that?
you already have a contract with Skyward, then you wouldn't get
wouldn't
the
get the
startup
grant.
cost. You'd have, yeah, so, and it's a Perkins something, I think I typed it in the document.
Yeah, Perkins Reserve Grant.
We've had a deal with Career Cruiser, and I'm waiting to do Naviance here at the end of the school year, just to kind of get familiar with those. And we do Avid at our middle school, and we're actually implementing a program called Ramp Up to Readiness at the middle school, which involves some career and planning and lessons. It's kind of like an advisory program, but it integrates a lot of those soft skill lessons in there, but it's called Ramp Up to Readiness. I'll add that in there. One thing a couple of things we've talked about and kind of are throwing out there was changing our conferences, at least the spring conferences at the middle school and the high school, and having the focus be, at least part of the focus be on the individual plan of study and career and college readiness, and having meetings, whether the counselors are doing it or our ACE teachers that are assigned to students for the whole 4 years, conducting those conferences with parents. Same thing at the middle school. We're going to plan all next year. We're not implementing next year, but next year's our planning year, but we're looking at that. And then also with the ideas from yesterday, we're a Google district, so hoping to create an individual plan of study using a fillable PDF with a program that goes with Google. And then you create your master, and then each kid gets an individual plan of study and you share it out. So then they have access to it, and the teachers and the counselors and everyone has a folder for each grade, and using it that way. Where I'm a little bit confused still, and I don't know, because I think it was Mays, they use, or it might have been I think it was Mays, they use career cruising for the assessments, but they also have their separate plan of study. So my confusion is with these vendors, is it all going to be, could you have everything in that one platform? Or it seemed like Mays was doing a separate individual plan of study, and then they were using career cruising as well. So I'm trying to figure out how that melds together or is separated, and we've got time, but.
They probably started, that's what we did. We started with our own, and then we jumped on board with career cruising. And so it's gonna be within career cruising now.
See, and I don't wanna,
So we'll be able to take the data from our IPS forms, like I'm in charge of I have the seniors. So I'll be able to take all of their information and put it into career cruising.
but should they have the separate document and then also enter it into
So
career
after I
cruising?
put this in, my understanding is no longer will I have this document. It's just, we started with this.
Right,
in the
now
fall,
you're transitioning.
and
So
now
I
we're
don't
transitioning
understand why
to
Mays is doing,
Well, they,
and I-
you know,
okay,
this,
well,
I
first
don't
of
wanna
all,
do all that extra
remember
work.
Mays talked about, or not Mays, Wichita talked about the cost for career cruising being like $1 a head. Did you get that at the very
I got
end?
3 and 5 whenever we were.
Well,
talking to
okay,
them.
but see,
Another
here's the
piloting.
deal, I talked to her afterwards, and the reason Wichita is paying $1 a student is they're not paying for the integration to IC or whatever their SIS is.
okay.
So
I'm
if
like-
you want it to integrate with your,
Individual plan of study.
well, with your student information system.
Oh, like Power School.
Right, so that you can do all of your enrollment and stuff
But
through that
keep in
too.
mind, some of those don't communicate well, because we have GoEDU, Go Register, and it does
I
not
wanna get rid of
communicate
that.
at all. So we paid, and
They're
it still
having
isn't
major
communicating.
issues with that.
So who do you
That's
guys
a
use?
huge
Is that a
issue.
Go-
a pilot school in Ottawa when it was.
You use
So what do you
it.
use them?
Go ahead.
We're Power School.
Power School.
Power School.
So you still use
Go
GoEDU?
We use
Power
it in
School is probably the best.
I think Mays does.
So,
Like
so I have a
Skyward.
question on that.
You like
Like,
Skyward?
we do individual, and then we're hoping with this, it'll all get rid of, but I would say that there's some things on our IPSs that we
That
definitely.
you don't wanna lose.
Well, that we definitely want, and we don't know if these platforms are gonna be able to do
Tailor
that,
it.
like community service and work experience. I don't know, all these other things that they'll eventually put on, I don't know if that'll be on great academics, great 4-year plan. I mean, Cooter already does that for us and puts it in a plan and all that kind of stuff, but that's where the checks and balances are. It's individual schools. It's like, what do you want? you know, and when we're doing this in internships and we want them to walk out with all this information, I don't know.
There's a place in there where they can build their resume and log all that information.
So if they're going to, I mean, like with you guys are implementing it or putting it in, does it have places for you to, what do I want to say, to mold it to your needs? Like, so.
To edit it. So you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
actually
edit
That
edit
we can choose, yes, we want this, no, we don't want that, yes, we want this.
Can you edit, like if you wanted to add 4 questions, you can do that.
Okay.
So,
I think so.
if we're cruising yourself.
Okay.
We hope so,
That's what they told me.
but we only have, 65.
Kids, so it's
Okay.
not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we're not big either, you know, 200 kids, I mean, we're not big, but
And where you at again?
at Cheney. So we've been doing it for 2 years. I mean, that's my main job. And so we've been doing it. And we've actually, for enrollment this year, we went to a 5x5 this year for next year, which has been opening up, going to open up we opened up 44 new classes to offer, which is amazing. It's exciting. So it's really huge for us playing with parents right now. And parents have been so excited. So we don't want to go backwards in anything that we're doing in none of this. So I don't know. But we're locked in 1 more year. We've already paid for computer for 1 more year. So
I think we're on a learning curve, and like Tamara said, there will be continued,
Yeah.
and they said this
They
yesterday,
changed a lot, but
that they would have continued professional learning opportunities for counselors and people like us. Because it's like I'm starting to wrap my head around it, but I need more information and just clarification about some certain things and so forth. So, and I think they, the hope is that people, as they transition and implement the new plans of study, that they do it well, so it's valuable experience and information for students and parents and teachers. And there's just a lot, I don't want to call it ignorance, but there's a lot of people out there that really don't know what they're doing and need that support and guidance. I mean, so Bueller, what are you doing?
Well, we did the 6 to 12 conferences this year. We changed it to individual plans of study. We created a Google form that has for teachers that have questions under categories like academic, volunteer, career planning, interests. And then we also have another form that we share that's to guide their conferences, because our teachers are really like, what are we talking about? So there's like conference guiding questions. And then we have another Google form that we created that we sent out to the students. I don't know, maybe everybody knows this, but when you share a Google form, if you overwrite the word edit with the word copy, it forces the person to make a copy of it as soon as they open it. And so that way they had to make their own copy of it. And so that the students created their own copy, and then it's their 4-year, that's an academic 4-year plan. And then that's shared with their advisor, the teacher, and the counselor. And so they're a little bit like a Google form. We have 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and we have all those students in there. And so we kind of jumped in and did that. We used Career Cruising. So we are going to lose the funding for the startup cost, but I mean, I guess it's just 1 year startup cost, so I guess we're off that. But and then we did a follow-up survey. This was interesting. So we sent a survey to our students, our parents, and our faculty about how it went. That was very interesting. If you remember the trick. It was interesting. We have about an 18 to 20% turnout in spring conferences. And the number 1 complaint that was turned is, I just want to meet with my teachers. I just wanted to meet with my teachers. Really? Because you hadn't been coming. Like, it was like,
Yeah.
I really wanted to see the teachers. That's interesting. No, you didn't. You've never been coming. That's right. So that was interesting. Kids loved it. In fact, sometimes when the parents didn't come, the kids came on their own. They just came by themselves. And so that was really good. But we have some things to work out. Like, there are some issues. I'm not going to lie. Like, one of them is the way we did it is we assigned their seminar teacher to them. And parents really, really did not like that the kid did not have them in class. I mean, we got ripped on it by everybody, by students and by teachers and everybody ripped us on it. Saying, we're meeting with an advisor and they didn't even have my kid in class. And
do they keep them for 4 years though?
they do, but not the middle school. Like the 6th grade teachers have the 6th grade kids, and they'll continue to have the 6th grade kids. So 6, 7, and 8 didn't, but it didn't matter. I mean, they had them for 2 years in seminar, but they didn't have them as a teacher, and so they just felt like.
Yeah, but on the sim respect, are they going to gripe if they get their shop teacher, not their math.
Okay, so that was the other thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
okay, so they
Because they're gonna have to
totally
be
did.
like, yes,
Everybody wanted the math teacher.
Right.
Because there's a big change with the way we're doing our curriculums. We set up a new curriculum to share that's like, it's kind of like if you, after your junior year, you sort of can select if you think you're going to go career, if you think you're going to go college, and you can go advanced college, and so we have this huge thing. Well, that was the number one thing. Well, my friend got to have the math teacher, and they got a lot more out of it than I did because I got stuck with the blah, blah, blah teacher, and they didn't know it. So yes, there was.
Yeah, that will be the case. I mean, if you're non-core, they're not gonna wanna have to meet.
However,
you.
like I did get the feedback from my non-core that said, I learned so much about our school this year by doing this.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Like
think
I
it'd be
have a
awesome
lot
for
more
the
to learn,
staff.
right?
And
But
promote
they
training
still
and all
complained about it. Like I still don't know what anything. But it was. I mean, we decided to do this in December. December 15th, we decided we're changing February's conferences, and we had 2 months to put this together. And faculty, we had no PD day. We had faculty meetings before school, and we made folders for them. And I mean, it was a rollout quick. So they will grow. And we kept saying, "You can do it." We were big cheerleaders. You know, no matter when we start, it'll be rough. So let's just go. So yeah. So that was a growing experience for us. We've got some issues to work out. We're going to start then 8th grade. 8th grade is going to go to a technical college visit next year, and 10th grade will go to a 4-year university visit next year in the fall. And so that's another piece that we'll put into it that's coming. This was very helpful. I know we're going to talk about it. I thought this was the biggest thing I took away from this day. It was good.
Smoky Valley.
They're right here.
He got a soup job.
He is. He's now the
Bennington.
superintendent at Bennington. Yeah. And John Dink is now the superintendent at Canton Galva, and Debbie Watson has moved to Topeka. And their charter school, they have 4 administrators, or 5.
I saw that posted yesterday. on
Inman
Facebook.
is interviewing next week. And Scott Friesen he was the high school principal. He got the Inman superintendent's job. And so they're interviewing for the high school principal Monday. We have 2.
Junction City, Cheney.
I kind of shared, this is our 2nd year in implementation. It's going really well. Last year, kids rolled their eyes, why am I doing this, those type of things. So we do a Google Doc. We wanted to jump in this spring with the parent teacher and just being a past counselor for years. And we did this in Iola, where I came from. Those teachers grumbled, like, why do I have to create a relationship with a student? I mean, seriously, I mean,
Why are
but-
you in education?
why? No, I don't
I feel like I put my cheerleading skirt on.
You can do it. I know
That's
you
the
can,
one.
but I know what you're saying.
I
It's
know.
so true.
That's the warm, and I will tell you in any of this, you do have to be the warm fuzzy, what can I do to help, use your I statements, and I mean, you really have to be,
Do.
and it's crazy.
So related.
I know. And so we have been having those conversations. We moved to a 5x5. We are extremely excited. It could blow up in our face, people. And so we are so excited that the kids came in and they were looking on the board the other, because we're just in enrollment now, because we're small, we can do it late.
Okay, explain. You said a
5 by 5. They're going to have 9 classes now instead of the 7, because the 10th will be the seminar, full-blown seminar, like every other day. Now they break up. They have different times. They have like a 30-minute period during the day to study and stuff. So it added classes. We did what teachers thought they might want to teach. Then we went, did a Survey Monkey, huge Survey Monkey with what kids would relate to and what else they would. We took all those courses, took the preliminary numbers, and it added up to about 44 classes. So we'll see how enrollment goes. And so our kids walked in and they were excited. And I tell you, the mood of the teachers changed when those kids like, oh my gosh, did you see that? And they didn't even know who was teaching it yet. And so the teachers got up and had like a 1 minute say, this is a new class. This is what we would be doing in it. The whole dynamics of our school changed. And so then we are going in, like I already did the seniors, because they'll exit with resumes and those type of things, finishing up their IPSs so they can do college, they're finishing college, all that kind of stuff, scholarships. So then the juniors and then the sophomores, as I go in this, I did juniors, so I guess I'm doing sophomores next week. They're coming in. It's just exciting because we have internship. We're going to be able to block off for internships. Now we're in relation to where you guys are. We have to compete with everybody else. And Cheney is so small. We don't have the the plethora of opportunities. So they have to drive. These kids were driving 20 minutes in, maybe on the job for 20 minutes and driving back to school. And so now we're being able to block things off and do some things there. So we've been having these conversations with the teachers of like this structured seminar and what it would be. And we've had the S3 grant there for 4 years now. And so we have all the curriculum. So we want to put those positive study habits, we're structuring it. So we've their understanding. And when the whole dynamic changed after Monday's meeting, the teachers were just like, it is about the students because, you know, it becomes, well, I don't want another plan. And oh, good God, you teach senior English and you teach sophomore English. You have 2 preps. You know, I mean, I've never seen a group like, oh God, I was a business teacher and had 8 preps in 6 hours.
The same
you know?
response from a middle school people. They have one prep. They just teach 7th grade English. And now they're going to have to pick up an 8th grade English. Like, oh my.
And we are unique in that capacity versus.
And then you have elementary teachers that.
I know.
Preps
Well,
every
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, the
CTE
my
preps,
preps, yeah,
math
yeah.
teachers have 4 preps. Suck it up.
Yeah. And so and we're unique too. And a lot of you guys 6 through 12, we share so many teachers. So scheduling, and I don't know if Jeff Hillman's our counselor. She's never started from scratch. And so it makes her very nervous and she's about close to retirement and the hope this doesn't push her into retirement. So I'm excited to start from scratch with her and help her do all that. It's just going to be exciting. So we're absolutely looking at the possibilities for cruise, whatever's best for our kids. But right now we purchased, they charged us too much last year. So we actually already paid. So we have another year of Cooter. So I'm trying to think, but it's
Real
going,
quick, when you go to your 5x5 block and you can get 9 credits, are you going to have to address their early graduation issues?
No, not at this point because we really are doing the capstone. All but one kid really basically has 2 to 3, you know, can be concentrator CTE. So we are looking at putting them capstone internships, those type of things. It's a small school. There's maybe one every 5-6 years and I asked that question to the school board. There's maybe 1 5 to 6 years that I'll say, hey, I want to go do this, or they don't ask. They want to be at school. I always say that they want to socialize at school. That's their place.
Kingman? Norwich? Oh, Max. Okay, we're skipping you. You went to the bathroom. All right, Cunningham.
Well, we have a career coach that our counselor works with the kids. I'm not sure what else she does in the high school with them because I'm in the lower end. But in the middle school, I know that she came and had them do posters and they had to do PowerPoints about careers and stuff, and they had to come and present them to our lower kids. And then also we have elementary teachers that, you know, do career studies and take the kids out to actual places. Like they just went to Kingman to the airport, one class did, and did career studies there. And they have different people from the community. They had a doctor come in from Wichita to come and talk to the kids in Cunningham. But you know, they do stuff like that. I'm not sure what all they do in high school though.
There are a couple links there to Naviance and Career Cruising to the website. I know I also got some information from Southwest Plains. We're part of that consortium, and it's way out, Split. But they have a new system, Copelli, that they're using for individual plans of studies. It's $10 a kid though. I was like, well, we won't be doing that. But if you're interested in looking, they have something as well. Then there was just an interest inventory from previous time that we had linked in there. As far as yesterday, a couple of us were actually, we went in the afternoon. I think Mindy was there in the morning. Did anybody else go to Clearwater or to any of the other individual plan of study workshops? You what?
Well, Isaac Clearwater.
Okay. I didn't even see you. You hiding?
Like 2 tables behind you. I hollered at you once, but you were.
Was I
trying to
multitasking?
chase
I know, I did. I was like,
I was hugging everybody I hadn't seen in months, from like Chini.
she was like a little
and
gnat. I was like, I
Haven.
can't grab her.
I know, I tried, and I finally said, Holly, and she turned around and gave me a hug, and I'm like, literally, I couldn't catch her. I was
Just
trying
move her
to
and just shake her.
touch her back.
I need like a leash.
Yeah.
Holy-
Man, I tell you, you're on the go all the
Okay,
time.
so here's the folder. I just shared it with you. So it has everything in there that we were given yesterday. If you were there, you have it. So there you go. And let me find, I'm trying to remember. I have a document somewhere. Give me a second. Let me see if I put it in here. I just typed a few notes, but I think we can just kind of go around and share. Let me see if I can find it first. Okay, hold on. Mm.
We went through and did, I don't know if you have that awesome I
thought I stuck it in. All right, I must not have.
Job description pulls into a lot of. Because I had them do this and
There we go. I'll put this in the folder. They're not very good, but Teresa, did you go to either of these? That's all right. They are going to have one here. So when you have time to delve into all the documents, there are PowerPoints that support all of the presentations that were yesterday. They're in there. This is just my notes that I took, and feel free, Mindy and Rebecca, Becky, to jump in. These are just a couple of the highlights because I knew I could go back to the PowerPoints. Just a reminder that the Perkins Reserve Grants will be available for startup costs once we get ready. I think it starts July 1st through, it's for like a whole year. So once those become available and you decide maybe if you're going to go with a vendor, if you haven't already purchased one, you would be eligible for that. They also noted that additional PD would be offered by KSDE, all throughout next year. So that's exciting. Reminder that everything has to be in place by 2017-18, but what he did say is that doesn't mean that you have to have an individual plan of study for everybody in 17-18. You just have to have an implementation plan. So that was a little different than what I understood previously. Anything else anybody took from Jay Scott that that really kind of stood out? That, again, there's tons of stuff in the PowerPoints, but then May South and Goddard High School presented and just kind of shared what they're doing. There is a link to their website that takes you right to the academic portfolio, and then I put the link to the presentation. They did talk, and in their PowerPoints and their presentations, it talks about a lot of the things that they're doing. So whether it be the conferences, or they're taking kids out for college visits, or all of that stuff is in there. I know May South's website, he said, go in, steal, you can find their plan of study.
And wasn't it May South that did you can go and click on a college and it'll
Yes.
pull up.
Okay, so yeah, this website, I sent it to my counselors. The KS, it's KS, oh my gosh. It was ksdegreestats.com.
Is it in
ksdegreestats.com. It was hard to find on his link, but it is somewhere in there. But if you type in ksdegreestats.com, it'll take you straight to it. And I spent I got to tell you, I started checking out because I stayed forever and played with it.
Was it?
I don't know where it was. I clicked on about 20 things before I found it. It's a .org, ksdegreestats.org.
KS, can somebody type that into the agenda, please? Oh, never mind, you can't because I have a different agenda.
So the ksdegreestats.org is you can compare any degree, the cost of it, and it's through the Board of Regents. I think you could probably get the
Degree
stats.
Degree stats or degree stats.
.org.
Okay, so now what's there?
It gives you a comparison of all Board of Regents universities, the degree, the cost, the tuition breakdown, the cost, the average salary of that degree versus the loan payment, what percentage of your income it would take you to pay back for your education.
Can somebody just type that? Can you type a summary in there for me? I don't know why.
that goes-
Is it
that gives me,
www thing? I can't get it
Because
to
it's like our
highlight.
education and training program search too, so that's
Yeah.
right along with that. Yeah.
It goes right, yeah, and it was cool. That
Yeah.
was,
Okay. I didn't.
and the other thing I got from them is that Doc Hub.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
already loaded into Google. It doesn't work quite as
Oh, I did
seamlessly
that.
as I
I
thought it
took
would,
a
but it's
break.
pretty cool.
For the PDF
For the
fillable.
PDF fillable, I went
We're
ahead and
gonna
added
use
it as
that.
an app.
Doc Hub, right? I think I typed that in there. It was Doc Hub. Doc Hub.
Right.
It's a Google companion, I guess.
And
So
I sent it to
you
my
can-
IT person in there. They kept counting it. DoChub. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh.
DoChub? No, Doc Hub. I'm like, what's a DoChub? I don't know what a DoChub is.
Okay, I'm just. The reason we talked to the guy from Maze afterwards, because if we do create our IPSs in Google Drive, we're like, well, why don't you just create your master and then give it to him in, whether it's a sheet or a doc? And he said, what the fillable PDF does, and this is just common sense, and it made sense once he said it, was it doesn't allow kids to go in and delete parts of the document that you don't want deleted. They can just fill it in. So if you have it in the fillable PDF, they can still edit it and change it, but they can't change the main portions of the IPS that you've set up. So, which made total sense. I was like, what's doc? I've never even heard of it. So that was great.
I had a big
Yeah,
aha
and
moment.
I learned that the hard way because I, as a business teacher, I'm like, I'm gonna do a form. I'll just get it over to Google Docs. Oh yeah, and then the format, and then we have MacBooks, and then MacBooks won't do the drop downs if you. And I had it all nice and pretty. So yeah, that would have been nice to know 6 months ago, guys. That's good though.
And then Goddard shared, and they have lots of neat things going on too. I can just recommend, just go into their presentation links and go through it, and you can just really get some ideas. And if nothing else, I thought, well, I'm gonna send my counselors out next year to observe or meet with their people and kind of talk and see how they're doing things. I just put down ideas for me. This is, again, I'm not gonna really, that's really notes for me and kind of things to think about. One thing that they did share, and I think it was Maze, when they do their fall conferences, instead of having it where the teachers sit down with the kid and the individual plan of study and the parent, they have normal conferences where they visit their teachers, and then the counselors are in the library and they have like 15-minute sessions where they kind of just keep repeating and go over the individual plan of study, so they have a kind of an overview of it. But then in the spring, that's when, I'm sure it's reviewed again, but that was something I thought was kind of interesting, and it keeps it in the hands of the counselors a little bit as far as providing an overview. Anything else, anybody that went that you thought just really stood out? I mean, there's tons of stuff in the resources they provided, and I don't know if it's in the links, but they shared some of the, and I can scan these if they're not in the deal, but the little form that they use during conferences, that they go through the information with the parents. There were several examples of that that were shared yesterday. Of course, you could take them and make them your own. There was a checklist.
I like this checklist. I don't know if anybody wants to see it, but.
I was trying to think, I have it too, but I can't remember what it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff you probably go, yeah, I do that. I
And
do
that's
that,
what you
but-
got at the conference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then
Can you
there
make
was
a
a
couple
handout.
Oh, they even have an information guide. That's good.
Well, this was what? This was just like things that.
What are you
needs to be in-
doing or not doing?
What you're supposed to be doing?
And then what are you doing? I can't remember.
Like,
I'll probably need that one.
yeah,
know what I'm
I didn't
doing.
have many check marks on it, so sorry, ignore my check, like, it wasn't much. This was, do you want all this? Here, this is all the stuff they just handed out that wasn't, here, you just take
Look at the one I'm going to. I might have to go
There
down
you
to the bookstore.
how many,
Did most of you guys go yesterday? Like how many copies you can make, even on.
You can
Five and
get
one.
one from my bag to take to my school.
It seemed like they added some more documents after maybe I did this, and I don't know if I need to add them in there. If I do, I'll change
I
this.
think you've added, those weren't in there originally. Did you add those?
Well, like as we sat there longer, stuff just kept getting pushed in there.
Oh, I didn't notice.
These are all,
I didn't
yeah.
refresh it.
Did you notice that, Mindy?
Yeah.
So I'll double check that, but, let's take a quick break, 5 minutes or so, and then come back. Sure, everybody has to go to the bathroom or something. Check your emails.
What,
whatever.
one thing I sent Tamara that we could use help on, I don't know, is how to use career cruising, like how to effectively use it and all the components of it. I feel like we use it, but we're not using it to what these people are talking about. I feel like,
To its fullest capacity.
yeah, like, so I emailed her on that to say, I don't know if that's something, I don't know if career cruising has to do that training or ESDEC can do it, but, or maybe we just need to go visit a school that's using it, because we have it, but we're not having this like, this cooperation between Power School and this online portfolio stuff.
Because Mike Cookin is talking for here, right, with career cruising, yes? That's my understanding.
Really?
I actually just got an email. Put together agreement for all ESEC members for our career development, college planning, blah, 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 partnership. So that probably be coming out on career cruising. So yeah, so they must just contracted through to get that. So that would mean that ESEC probably is going to be offering trainings and things like that. And that's my biggest thing is what school was it? Here, PLC for CCR. We only give them their school Gmail account. And so when they are done, they're wiped out. So giving them all to get it into a private Google, or something to take, not just a hand copy that they have, what school was it that had it visually and they could go in and click and it was on their website. It didn't have addresses or anything, but then like you could refer to, here's my link to, here's my professional portfolio. It was really cool. What school was that? Look at right now.
Cool.
Yeah, it was, gosh. And it was really neat because they had their own personal email accounts attached to it, but then it was, you could go and see class, and what it did, at the bottom, it had sample writings. So English, if they did a big paper, if they had pictures of their art portfolios in there, and had those links too, besides just their normal resume, here's who I am, what I'm about. And then somebody can go in, so somebody for scholarships, this type of thing, could go in and look at their profession. It was really cool. But it was all done through Google Docs. I went in to try and my IT guy goes, no.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No. I'm like, okay.
Are you leaving today, Teresa? Tamara's going too, right? Is Tamara going? Conrad? What are you going, what is it? What conference is it?
National School Board Conference setting. So,
What are you presenting on?
from the boardroom to the classroom. I'm not gonna be saying the title because every time I go to my head.
It changes.
Exactly what come out and build the presentation.
Yeah.
So,
How funny.
but it's about how these capture good parts and things that are culture and like that.
We're looking at that, at our titles for next year.
What school you at?
Hazel.
Because Mays went to, when I was at Mays, they were.
Mays did Capturing Kids' Hearts. Goddard, some of Goddard does it too. We're looking at doing it, starting at our 2 title schools. It's just,
We
we just,
Yeah. It's 7 days of training, well,
So expensive.
They need to be like a classroom.
If I had the money, I would.
Has anybody had a problem with the test not showing up?
Mhm.
I'm working on that right now.
Okay, social science, social studies.
Now, is that through the Flippin? Is that,
I've got
okay,
one
yeah,
and I
we were
think you
trained in
everywhere.
Flippin leadership, and then our middle school has a leadership program, and then they
So,
moved it to,
Okay,
I
I'm
think
gonna,
like Neil Faber.
but I need to look up her ID number. I guess.
That just a different level.
But I mean, don't I have to look, I can't email it to her name, I have to know the ID number. Yeah.
Right. I really enjoyed that.
Who else can get the information from
We
the?
have a good Easter.
This person would have to, I'm ready to get some photos, but she's in there.
You are.
I get to pull her out.
What are you doing for his
When I go,
birthday?
that's what I'm about to say.
Is there anybody else that needs a copy of the information?
I was there.
You were there?
South Barber here just a minute ago.
Did you go yesterday?
Ooh, we can try.
So what'd you say?
Same ways I'm trying to make him some
Oh,
friends
my
for his
goodness.
birthday and pick him up in Pratt, maybe on the way to South Barber. How about you? Do you have a good Easter? Your girls come out,
Mhm.
see you.
Yeah, I had one of my grandsons in the hospital, but everybody else was there.
Which one was that? Is it the one? Have you had more grandbabies that I've seen?
I had 2 girls and he was Kelsey,
When you left, you had the one that was really sick in the hospital.
and it was him back in the hospital. He has asthma.
Lungs are probably.
And he was down there, they live in Hartner, so, you know, and they sent him into asthma cap. And so he was back in, they put him in ICU in Wichita.
All the smoke from the fire.
But he was
What if
born
she's now not
premature, so
showing
he's
up on
always
my
had trouble with.
I
Yeah,
have a
just
student,
asthmatic.
the social studies assessment is not showing up. She's already taken 2 tests, and she's not listed with her sisters.
Is she in when you go to like, test administration, is she showing up under that list where you would see their?
Like when I go to the, like to get her, I went to pull up her number, and she's not listed.
Yeah, they were glad to be in the.
Go, but go in and
I thought-
under
I didn't
test
think they'd ever
administration and
find
see
a
if
job.
she's showing, like, pick the
And they
test
were
and see if
being-
she's
they were so
listed there,
set
like
on
whether you're
grateful.
monitoring
I
or
mean,
looking
I
for
said,
their.
you know, they have to go one of here, one of here,
Well,
10
maybe-
miles.
Maybe it's
just
not.
check and see, and then, I mean,
But
it's
they
probably
were
still an
like,
issue,
no,
but at
we're
least see
gonna
if
send
she's
you to-
there.
That's a good idea.
Good luck with that.
Right.
Oh,
It's a blessing.
Hold on, give me just a second. Let me finish this email.
She has high standards.
Well, okay, we finally found it listed at our school, because we have been doing online. We finally found one that really is.
Hey,
Coming
and
next
Becky, you hired one of my math teachers. Becky? What? You hired one of my math teachers,
So next year you're getting them.
Danny Owens. He is, he's a previous student of mine, actually. I taught him.
I can't remember.
Yeah. This is his second. He needed to, he lives in Park City and was driving to every day. So he's been looking for something in Wichita. So I'm looking for him. And works for his family.
I've done it before. I've used them, but I can't remember.
Okay, so she shows up in that list.
I would
So
just,
now-
I would still just call Kite Support and say she's not showing up here, but at least she's there, so it shouldn't be anything to worry about. I don't know why.
But then when I hit monitor,
She should be there all the way up to the point where she stopped testing, or he.
right, okay.
Are they there? Yes, yes, type in your district and what you're doing, and it's just gonna be ongoing, and we'll keep adding to it as far as we continue to grow and evolve in each. But see, and I think that's good, because if we know what other districts are doing, like if we want to send somebody out to observe and we're thinking about doing something like what you're doing, then I would know, oh, I'm gonna call Teresa and see if we could come out and visit, or, yeah. because I know, you know, we're all not gonna do the same thing the same way, but there's probably pieces that people will.
Teachers work on that on this spring conference.
No.
Or-
No.
They have to decipher Aspire scores.
Okay, Becky, it is. SDAC curriculum leaders. This is it right here. If you could. If you need me to share it again, just let me know. One thing I need to do with this is make sure, and I've learned, I know when I started first using Google, I didn't, the sharing thing, here I did change it, like anyone with the link can view, because I originally had it where I'd have to keep giving people permit, you know, occasionally.
yeah.
So I'm learning.
Make it public.
But it's stuff that I've done in the past that I have to go back and change the rights. Okay. The next thing we have on the list is standards-based grade cards. So we are doing it. I'll just start, and I think we can kind of go around the table and share, and it might be something where you just want to talk and discuss what you've done, maybe transitions you've made or changes you've made over the course of, you know, from the point when you implemented to current. I know everybody does these a little bit different, and your systems like PowerSchool and such all work differently with this kind of a report card. So I'll just start, and then we'll just kind of go around the table, I guess. I can log into PowerSchool and kind of show you what it looks like on the teacher side if we want to dig in that deep. It might be something that's better for an afternoon conversation. You know, if we want to really dig into it and kind of figure out how things work. But one thing that when I moved to this district, the plan was for them to move the standards-based grade cards in K5. So we started with K2 and then we implemented 3.5 last year. It went through an evolution process where we started off really, really specific, and we've kind of gotten away from that where it's more of the domain and the standards. So when they're linking, they link mastery level assignments or assessments, which correlates to a 1, 2, 3 rating on the grade card. Our upper grades also have a traditional grade that they give for each of the core content areas in addition to the standards-based rating. Good or bad, that's what they chose to do. I see that as the overall grade is kind of your overall kid. Assessments, all assignments, participation, all of that. So you have your overall kid there, is where with your standards-based, it's really specific to skill and how they're doing on different different categories or areas. So one thing that we did was a communication piece, and we do this. This is just, I have examples, and you're more than welcome to take them, and I just printed them off, and they're different colors for different grades. But this is something that that we share with parents at conferences. It has a letter, and I need to go back in and change Common Core to college and career and all of that. But this is last year's, and we tried to make it, it's a letter on the front, and then I tried to make it very short and brief that explains the grade card and what the components are and what certain things mean. We also have in our grade card like successful learning behaviors, so it does contain these things. So when you're looking at, especially K2, when you're looking at the overall child, you're getting that aspect in there, and there's a rating system for that as well. And then one thing that we really tried to do, and you'll see this in our grade card, is we really tried to, on our ratings for the standards-based grade card, we change these twice. Like this is our third year or fourth year for the younger grades to make it easier. But these are the ratings that we use for the standards-based grade card piece. And then these are the things that we use for the successful learning behaviors. We changed it all to a 1, 2, 3. Well, at one point we had 4 ratings for one and 3 for the other, and it was like overwhelming. So this is just the communication piece for the parents, and then there's an FAQ there that of course nobody ever reads, but it's there. Anyways, it's there. I think I scanned all the grid. Okay. Oh, I just gave you that. Okay, they are scanned. Okay, so really I will say that last year Cindy, and I don't know if she's willing, but she had a folder, and I tried to share, but I can't because I didn't have the rights.
Okay.
But Cindy,
how do I share that? I'll just place the link in there.
there
I
you go.
have
Whole
so
bunch
I-
of districts.
Yeah, I have all of our districts, and I included our trifold in ours. So we send out an informational trifold to our parents that we send out at the 6-week period about their grade cards, and then we give it to them when we insert it with our grade cards. When we are developing ours are also a work in progress. And so we just started general, and so we looked at many different ones. We had some general guidelines that we wanted it to fit on one page. We did not we looked at
changed ours
Hutch's,
too.
and it had 6 pages, and you're like, oh, that is too much. And so we're struggling with, and we went with the 1, 2, 3. We didn't want everybody to go to a but we are really struggling with how to evaluate that and shifting people's. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it is. But so if they have a 75, is that a 2? So everybody's going to be a 2. It's always going to be a 2.
And it's a range.
And and so we're really struggling with some of that. But I will share that link. I have all the
those
school districts that
Mhm.
shared their grade
It
cards with me.
It was a great way to start off and look at, I mean, there are 10 districts in there. And I went in and I printed them all off and I started looking at them and I'd highlight components and pieces. And I had a committee, I had one teacher from each grade level. So we could kind of narrow down what we were looking for. And I will say, in the evolution process, and we started off as more of a real specific, almost by the I'll call it indicator. I know the language is different, but it was very isolated skills. And then we kind of blended some together in the second year. Then we went to this model, except for kindergarten. And kindergarten still is more specific. And I think and they chose and they wanted it to be that way. But this is an example, and we did go from 2 pages to 1. That was a huge thing as far as user friendliness for parents and teachers and not being overwhelmed, but it was huge. But trying to get it down, I mean, you pretty much had to broaden out the categories. So this is an example of our first grade one. And again, it's not perfect. So it's not perfect, but I really tried to let the teachers, I had to give away some of my anal control.
I know, because I've been having the same fight with mine because ours is so lengthy. But I'm like, is literature enough? Tell a parent. What I said, you're gonna have to get specific and say they don't know this, and this.
And that's what I told
And
them.
I said, that's you're having conversations. Are you able to do that? Because with our current grade card, that's really specific,
Isolated.
but it's longer. It is.
The conversation's already built in.
Yes.
And that's what I
yes.
told them. And when we went to this, I said, okay, you go to this, it's broad, but then you're going to have to be prepared for those kids that have a 1 or maybe a low 2 or whatever. You have to specifically talk about what parts. And they were fine with that. I don't sit and micromanage at a conference, but they overwhelmingly wanted that. So I kind of was like, okay. I mean, really, it was
Have you
hard
used
for me.
it yet?
Oh, yes.
And your parents?
Oh, surveys, so much better. And I can talk to you about how they link assignments. Really what we do, and Power School is set up, and I'd have to log in and show you, but the only thing that they link the standards-based to, like the assignments, it has to be a mastery level assignment, assessment, or quiz. So anything else, they don't link it to like literature. Like there's a little tab where they go standards-based, and then there's a drop down or a list where they can pick this assessment or this mastery level assignment focused on literature or writing. And they have to be kind of careful, because if you have an assessment or something that has a whole bunch of stuff, I said you have to understand that the kid may have mastered this one area, say literature, and then they can only click one category, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They can't pick literature and foundational, because what happens is, let's say the kid got an 80 on the assignment or on the assessment, and the assessment had literature and writing in it. Well, they might have got a 40 on the writing and 100 on the literature. Well, then you're not getting a true read. So I said you only can use assignments or things that have more isolated pieces in it, or if you have an assessment that say it has literature and informational text in it, you have to do 2 different scores. And that's kind of clunky, but I said otherwise you're not giving a true read of those categories. But
Do your teachers like grade all the assignments and put on, or do just pick a few to put on?
it can only be mastery level, and they get to pick which ones that they use. I gave up that control too. Some of the grades still use, but especially K2, they have common assessments that they use that they built together in the first year when I required it. But I've opened it up where they can actually do mastery level assignments or quizzes or other things, like say from Journeys or Envision that they use as well, as long as it's mastery level. K through 2, they wouldn't enter anything else, as where 3 through 5, they're entering every single assignment that those kids have during the 9 weeks, because they're getting a traditional A, B, C, D, F grade as well. But they only connect it to the standards-based grade card when it's a mastery level piece. And it doesn't have to be every single one that they do. They have to kind of pick and choose carefully what they enter. But we do, in English language arts, they're called standards.
So did you say they do both? They do the
It's integrated. See how, and I'll show you in the 3-5. There's the standards-based grade card at the top of each core area has a traditional grade where it dumps the traditional grade into the standards-based grade card.
Okay, so they do take grades on daily
3-5.
assignments.
3-5.
3-5 does.
And then they also do this, and I'll show that to you in a second. So they score these. In math, you have your 4 domains, right? Then in science and social studies, and they didn't like this, but I told them too bad. This is where I did not give up control. They wanted to give just a flaky little grade or score in these areas, and I said no, because then that takes away the emphasis from science and social studies. So they have to do a rating, and there's a lot of times when they don't cover certain skills, and they have a dash. But I didn't want to take the focus away. They don't like me very well for making them do that, but that's okay. They didn't like it. PE and health, music, art, computer, they do something called concepts and skills. And this actually has worked really well. You have to realize that those teachers have tons of kids. So we tried to keep it a little bit simpler for them. But the nice thing is like, say PE and health, they may have a unit or certain skills that they're covering in a 9 weeks. So each 9 weeks it starts over, and they're getting a score over the concepts and skills that are addressed that 9 weeks. Then they get an effort score as well. As we know, that's very important in those 2 different classes. So what a lot of times the PE and music, art, and computer teacher will do is in the comments, the teacher, and they can bulk load this. They take one description and they can copy it into all the kids' comment section. It'll say third 9 weeks. This 9 weeks we focused on passing and throwing or balance and agility. So the parent knows specifically in those classes what they did. And that's a way for them to kind of see, because as well as I do, like in PE and health, well, this 9 weeks we might do gymnastics, and next 9 weeks we might do basketball, and your kid could be terrible at one and great at the other. So it kind of gives them an idea of what's being covered. Then the one thing they wanted to add this year, and I said, that's fine, but you're gonna have to manually enter it, which is fine. All of the assessments that they given, they wanted to put the scores in here because they wanted it all to be in one place. So they go in, and I'm sure there's some probably fancy way you can get it to dump in through your management system if you're entering them there too, but they put in their STAR test score, like our Dibbles Next, and what this differs at each grade level and what they're giving, so that so when they meet with them, they can have conversations. Then they have the successful learning behaviors. And then they have the quarterly comments, and you can see we put it all in one page. They're kind of limited on how many, I tell them, summarize, abbreviate, because this box will only hold so many characters. This? Oh no, this is all through PowerSchool. Yep, everything there, and that's where I think if we had an afternoon session, there's a place in PowerSchool called Final Grade is what ours is, where they go in and where they, if they, how do I explain this? If they go into the traditional grade side and they enter grades and they link it to a standard, let's say that they had 3 assignments during the 9 weeks on literature. It's set up behind the scene with me and the tech guy, where it'll average those 3 and translate it into a 1, 2, 3, and it dumps it into the final grade or the standards-based grade side. They can also manually go into the final grade side of the grade card, and they can enter a 1, 2, 3, and a lot of it can be batch loaded where they can just dump, it can be a 3, and then they go back and they change the ratings. The other thing they can do is if like those scores dumped over and they see that a kid got a 2, and they're like, oh, they can manually change it if they want to. So that's,
you know, we've struggled. Charlene is our PowerSchool guru at our place. She just went to the PowerSchool conference this week.
Yeah, ours did too.
And she came back and she said, before, she's been programming our grade cards to look exactly like that. So when you print the grades, they come out looking like that. And each one of those horizontal lines, separate grade entry. But now, I mean, like a separate program entry, and it took her a long, like she's just slowly getting it. It's a lot of work. But now they have a new template form. And so where you can just like, you can drag, you can literally draw your lines wherever you want and then code what you want on that line. And so it's a lot faster. So,
oh, that's nice.
And
now that ours are already built.
Right. So, well, ours are too. We've got K1-2 done. And so she was like, oh, 3, 4, 5. That'll help me with 3, 4, 5. But it's a lot of work with PowerSchool, I found. Like, and
we have a guy, like I do part of it where I take the spreadsheet and I enter all the description in it. And then he takes it and builds it behind, he does the formatting piece.
That's
so
nice.
So I work with him. I have no desire to want to build that in the background. But he knows it up and down, backwards, inside out.
Awesome.
So this is our this is a 3rd grade one. So you can see the difference, like right here. See, we're at the top. This is the traditional grade, and we call it an overall performance grade. So that's where the teachers enter everything. I mean, like they did in the days when we were in school, you know, they get the A-, and you have the option here if you wanted to put a % in there instead of a letter grade. We just have the formula translate it to the letter because we thought the parents would like that. So then you can kind of see that there. So they get that. They are not getting that in PE. We didn't do it there. We thought that'd be way too much. So otherwise, it's pretty much the same. What changes here, as you can see, like at the upper grades, we start to give NWA. So their math score is in there, or the RIT.
Did you say this starts with the overall performance grade?
We start in 3rd, and they're talking about dropping it off in 3rd. They don't like it.
So we started it with 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and all 3 grades made the decision this semester that if they're doing 1, 2, 3, they should stay 1, 2, 3, and they're dropping the percentage.
Yeah.
They went away with that.
If they want to,
they tried for a while. They were like, we had to hang on to the percentage for a long time.
And I let them.
And so I did too. And then 3rd grade went first, and then 4th grade, 5th grade. They're going to make the decision at the end of the year.
Yeah. And I'm fine. It just drops a line. But at the same time, I think it's kind of like they have to let it evolve, and because if it comes from me, you know how it is.
Yes.
I mean, so I'm like, okay, see, and I don't say, see, I told you so, but they know in the back of their mind. But maybe 4th and 5th grade wants to keep that, and I'm okay with it. But it's not something I'm willing to die over. It's not worth it to me to do that. So,
you know that link that I just put on our reports
Let me look.
Make sure I
Did you
make
put
sure
it
it's
in the
in-
agenda?
Yeah.
Is that it right here? Wait, where is
Up
it?
top. One more up.
This one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Have you
you
have
can
yours
go
in there?
in and oh my gosh, there's some though that I just look at them, I'm like, oh, but then it's nice because you can pull and get ideas from different ones and what they're doing. So I really appreciated that because it did help us a lot last year when we were looking. Oh, very important. And if you haven't done this before, it is so important that you provide, when we made the shift, that you go through, and I'm anal, so I did the training. We went through and I provided training to K2 and then 3-5. And I walked them through everything and made sure that they knew in Power School how to go in, how to link it to the standard, all of that. And of course you have to do it with your new teachers every year because you just do. So this is my training. This is really just a training outline that I use to remind them of different things because we had made some changes from the previous year and they could go back and just, you know, go through that and know. It was just really helpful for me too.
We
keep
spent a
me
lot of
focused.
time on what is an F, like that percentage. I noticed the 80 to 100 and
Mhm.
stuff, and how
And
we
what
did
the
a lot
ranges should
of
be.
like Dusky stuff and like wow, yes, we really struggled with that because really, if you divide it up, 0 to 33 should be a 1, 33 to 66 should be a 2, and 66 to 100 should be an A or a 3, not an A.
And I love
And so because they're really saying, you know, if you look at even the A through F scale, you're saying 60% of your, like if you get a 0, you're really saying it's not just a 0, it's like a ginormous 0 because because it affects your grade. Right. And so we talked about that, and so that was I see that you guys went 80 to 100.
I can't remember. I always have to pull it back up, but that's how it's generated in behind the scenes.
Okay.
Is it on there?
Yeah, it's up higher, but right. I saw it right there. 50, so 60 to 80 roughly. Okay.
That's just what they chose to do. So, right or wrong.
No one. Good to know.
Okay, let's go around the room and share what you're doing and just maybe give some people some ideas or things that don't do it. You know, things to prevent causing yourself headache if you're just starting.
We only have it for kindergarten at Maxville, and it's real specific, and we looked at it, just didn't know where we wanted to dive in at. But I personally would love it for 5th and 6th grade.
Yeah, we are K2. We're working on PE and music right now. 3-5 would like to go to it, but our K2 is real specific.
Like this is our kindergarten one, and it's
Yeah, that's
very,
what's
and they
up.
want
Yeah.
it that way.
I know, I did too.
And I'm like, and they have all their common assessments.
They
and
have their
revise
ESPI
them.
stuff on there.
But that's kindergarten's world. That's all they've ever known, and they're fine with that. Which I'm fine with.
But mine are like, it's too long. It's taking
We still got one
forever,
page.
Blah, blah, blah. And
We got it in one page. I'm not
so
sure how,
we're
but we
gonna have
did.
to, we're working on revising it. But like I said, to put it broad, like you have your 3rd through 5th grade,
Mhm.
they've got to know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
In every area.
I totally agree.
So
It's just a shift in either it's all here for you already, or you're going to have to do the work on the backside for conferences. And that they felt like it was more important that it was a user-friendly document for the parents and that they add in the conversation. Then we give them this 2-page document and they're never going to look at it because they're going to be overwhelmed by it. So that, you know, and that's fine. I'm like, okay, just make sure that you are having those deep embedded conversations about specific things within each of those domains or standards because that's gone now. I don't know.
We used to use standard-based report cards, and then when we shifted to the Common Core,
Yep,
we got rid of them,
Mhm.
went back, and our preschool has them, of course,
Mhm.
but our learning behaviors we have on a separate way from
Document.
our letter grades.
And I kind of do see with the new career and college career, and I don't know if you all agree, but is they are kind of trying to get away from the isolated skills. So that kind of helped me. Okay, we can broaden this a little bit. I mean, because I think it does go along better with our shift to call it in career, where they're trying not to focus on those real isolated skills. It's a little bit more broadly taught, I guess.
Well, we just went through the process last year and we implemented them this year. We've had some issues with Power School communicating with it and printing it how we wanted. We're working on that, and it's a work in progress. We, after every quarter we meet and we evaluate what didn't work for us, what we want to change. And so it's just going to be, it's going to be a living document for us, which is going to drive Charlene crazy because she's the one who's setting it all up. But with the document we're starting and we're comfortable with, the problem is the assessing it and getting our people to shift away from percentages and grades to like, but how do I know if they're a 2 or a 3? I mean, we're really struggling with that. And then going back to, well, do they know how to do it? Like, do they know how to do it well? Could they teach someone else to do it? Then they're a 3. If you have to help them to get through problems, then they're a 2. If they don't even know where to begin and you have to sit next to them to get them to move on to the next thing, then they're a 1. I mean, that's about as clear as I can make it, but they're like, so what if, I mean, they just keep going with the what if, but what if they got an 82 on the test? I don't really think that they're a 3. We just can't make the shift. And if you have some people that could train that you know of that are like, what I've found is I need a teacher that's doing it. Like I've brought in some people from here, and they were great, but they're not doing it. And so my teachers were checking out on them. They were like, yeah, but you don't understand. I mean, they do that. So I really need a teacher that's teaching it effectively and understands to come and talk to my teacher. So if you know of anybody, send them to me.
So you type to their evaluation.
Huh?
You type to their evaluation. What I'm saying is they have a rubric for their evaluation, and they understand that it's a 2 and a 3 on their evaluation for their performance. So I don't want you to mess with like, well, 82% of the time, you're doing this, it's only a 2.
That's a good idea. I could try that.
Something that they understand, that they're like, I don't know, because that may help shift their thinking. It's something that they understand for themselves. So what's that look like for kids?
Yeah, I could try that. I'll try that because they're, and I mean, a little bit of me understands it because I'm a high school math teacher and I do like percentages and I'm super anal. So, I mean, I do sort of sympathize with them. So I don't want to be judgy, but
well, the other piece too is where, at least in Power School, they can manually override that score. Or if you're requiring that they keep it, have them make a comment to the parent about your child earned a 2, but please note that. Or
so then they wanted to go 2+, 2
minus,
3 minus. They're almost a 3, and I was like, well, then why don't we just do A?
That's
A
the
B minus B plus B,
conversation.
B minus C? Because they were like, they're really a 2+. Can we add that to our scale?
No. And that's the conversation piece at the conference where they have to sit down and go, your child got a 2 and they're a low 2 or they're a high 2, or just know that, or maybe they're really a 3 in every area except for this one part of literature, and they just don't get it, and they got really, really low scores, and it brought them down. I mean, that's the conversation piece, and it has to be there. But
that's why I typed evaluation. So you're effective minus.
Right. Effective plus. You're super effective.
So how's that working for us? How does that work for us? They'll get it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good idea. With like behavior stuff I talked about. So if you were a fortunate district and got your check and it was short $300, and they took off money because you drew grades amount to that was $100. And they took off another $50. So like, I said, would you work here very long? No, I wouldn't work. I quit. Of course you would. But it's okay for us to take things like kids all the time. It's a huge shift in thinking when they know, yeah, I don't want that for me. So how do we do that
for them? That's a good idea. Good feedback.
All right, Jeannie.
I will skip by. That is Sherry Conrad's world.
Okay.
So,
I know she was starting to work on that a couple years ago.
I know, exactly. I'm just listening. Admiring and listening.
All right, Teresa.
We've had a standards-based framework for kindergarten for the last years. And so we did one for first grade as we started all day kindergarten, and now we're going to roll it up through second and then that, because that group of kids will only that. So
that's a
we're
good
just
idea.
going to roll it slowly so that the community doesn't be like, oh.
Doesn't go into shock.
So slow.
That's a great idea.
And ours, and part of that was the ability to get into Power School. That was because the kindergarten teachers were on a
separate
for years.
Yeah.
God bless them, a little tab for every child. So.
Thank God they only had 20 kids.
Where the shift started happening.
Valley Center?
Actually, the link that Cindy shared has our pay report cards in it, however, they're outdated, and I was trying to add our.
Yeah, okay, so I need to change that. You can edit that?
Change the
Yeah,
edit.
if you can.
I will do that. And then can you put yours in there too?
that would
Let me
be
figure out how
super
to do that. Yep. Let's see, it's in a different drive.
We are, in fact, I am getting ready to start this process again. I swear, we have edited these report
Done.
cards
Every
for
year.
the last 3 years. We've had standards-based report cards probably for maybe 8 years now, or 6 to 8 years. And of course, when the new standards changed, we took one core area a year and we revised that. And then we revised math. And so we've been making changes to our report cards. Well, now the teachers, I've been getting feedback again. They want some opportunity to go in and revise again. And they're wanting to make it more, just make sure that the wording is kid and parent friendly. So we will have another, I'll be meeting with some after school meetings this year yet. And then I've got a summer day to hopefully wrap it all up again. Interestingly enough, we've tried to talk to our 4th grade team. They're kind of the resistant group.
Everybody has one.
Everybody has one. And so they really don't want standards-based report cards. However, the principal of our 5-6 building and now the new principal of our 7-8 building really want to have this discussion. So 4th is going to get pressed into it whether they want to be there or not. So here we go again. I'm fastening my seatbelts, but we have very similar processes. I mean, we use Infinite Canvas, so we use a numbering system where actually for the core areas we use E, M, P, and N, and then for the other areas we do have a numbering system like 1, 2, 3, 4. So very similar to what you've shared. Ours are a little bit more detailed. We've gone down to at least the broad category areas in English language arts and math. So I'll put the newest ones that we have in, but again, they'll be changing.
Okay.
So.
Anything?
We don't do it.
Okay.
We just changed our grading scale. We were a high, but they changed it to match colleges.
Yeah. Which is smart. Okay, kindergarten readiness. This is a conversation we had last time, or time before, and we just kept it on the agenda. Anybody want to, I know the state has a committee that's meeting to talk about kindergarten screener that they're developing that's going to be implemented, and then based on that data and results, they will provide support to those districts that obviously aren't doing so hot. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I know that they are working on that since that's part of the new vision. We did have a great conversation a couple times ago, I think, about pre-K, and it might have been last time, and what different districts are doing with pre-K programs. And I know we're out of time today, but that might be a good conversation as far as what you're doing in your district. And for example, if you have your SPED pre-K, or you have your state pre-K, or if you have pre-Ks that are out in your community, whether what they are and what they're doing, and kind of if there's certain curriculum that they're using or how the program is set up, it might be nice to share. I think like Renwick has pay preschool. Like that's something we don't have and we kind of were looking at. So that's a good conversation. Oh, yeah, which is great. I mean, that's only advantageous for the district and the kids. And One thing we're trying at what we're piloting it this year at one of our title schools is a kindergarten jumpstart, and we're doing it end of July. It's just 8 days, and through the screener and through observation when they had their kindergarten, what's it called, roundup. They prioritize kids based off of that, and they'll use some model kids as well, and it's just 8 days, but it's not really focused on academics at all. It's more on those lower kids that are coming in that have no idea how to go to the bathroom, or how to collaborate with other kids, or how to line up, or how to sit. So the hope is that it just gives them a little jump start before the other kids come, and will help that teacher so that it just kind of maybe narrows the gap a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. So that's just something we're doing in one of our buildings. But I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to share that they can add on there for future, but
We just,
go ahead.
we're doing the wraparound services that we got off, that we're doing pre-K, both morning and afternoon, and then they can go to Shining Stars, which is a daycare in our building, and then they can go to after school till 6. So they can be in our building from 7:30 to 6, and all 3 buildings are going to do it. We'll hope that it gets, that I think we have Roundup on the 12th, which is next week. So we'll know a little bit more information about that. We learned a lot from visiting Hayesville, and we made a lot of visits. So we tried to take what we could do feasibly in our own district from all of those visits. The screeners, we were going to do the Brigance, we're doing the United Way screener, and then it comes down to, but if they're not ready, what are we doing with them? Like, we thought about putting them into pre-K for, some of the day, and then Randy has really been preaching that kindergarten readiness isn't just like, it's not, you can't tell them that they can't come, and it's not, I don't know. It's so now we're looking at it going, we have a lot of time going to be invested in a kindergarten screener, that what are we going to do with the information? And so we're struggling with that a little bit. If you want to know the truth. I mean, it will be eventually a good measure of the effectiveness of our pre-K program, because then we can look at the ones that are in our pre-K program that are ready for kindergarten and say, ooh, man, we're not getting our job done. But for right now, if we haven't started it, we're not doing anything with the information other than gathering it, I guess. So. But I want it to be an evaluation, a little bit of our pre-K program, because we are committing, and our board has basically said, we'll do this. But we've also looked at the success rate of Oklahoma and some of these people that have done it, and they're saying by 2nd grade, there is no effectiveness of pre-K, that they put all that money in it. And by 2nd grade, it doesn't matter whether they went pre-K or not pre-K, they're all the same. And so I'm hoping to then track those kids as they come up through our program, and we're going to keep a spreadsheet of those who have had our pre-K program all the way through versus those who haven't, as hopefully support.
Because they do catch up, because we put a ton of intervention on.
I was gonna say, what,
So the key part we've got to document is how much intervention those kids who weren't there, how much are they getting?
Yeah,
And how
not
much
identified.
resources being put towards that. I think the goal is to get all day or some preschool intervention funded by the school.
Okay.
I think that's part of it. I think that's probably smart.
I hope we're doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Well, I think it's both, but it would be nice if they would fund early intervention.
Because they don't.
For all kids, not just the kids who have severe needs. Fund their all day kindergarten and fund their.
Yeah. The last thing, I just pulled this from email, and it looks like Kelly's going to start sending some stuff out on PISA, or the new accreditation piece. So this is just some information on, it looks like, as you're getting ready to build some of your teams, and gives some examples of how to do that. It's just that preliminary background startup stuff that you can maybe start doing now and getting ready for. So I'm not there to put or spend a lot of time on. You can go in and look at those links yourself, but I just copied and pasted it in there. It looks like she'll just send out factoids maybe every week that'll keep giving you information on how to move forward until it gets approved by the state board. on that. I think that's really about it. We do have, Cindy's gonna continue the blended learning in this afternoon. I don't know if Mary's coming.
Yes, she is.
Um,
Actually, both of you. Is anybody staying?
I am.
I am.
Okay.
I enjoyed
Yep.
it last time.
These postcards, I was gonna show what we did with these. Have you guys seen the new Kansas Can postcards?
They're right here. I have it right here.
So
The
what we
link.
did is, I have two, there's a whole bunch of them, we only picked two. We did the Kansas Can Invest and the Kansas Can Define Success, there's others too. But, there's like, I think 5 of them, the Kansas Can and then blah, blah, blah. And so then what we did on the back is we put Crusaders Can Invest and Crusaders Can Define Success. And so we identified our overstep outcomes and how we are basically, like, this is the
Is this
Kansas
them?
vision and this is the, yep.
That's
Like
all the
we
cards.
did Define Success and Invest. We did those. So I don't know if you want to look at them, but so we just picked our own and we put like there on the back on the ones, this is the outcomes. And so on the back of that, we put our BHAG, which is 24 college credit hours, ACT of 21 or greater, a recognized certificate, secured employment, and then the investment, like of the quality free school. Those are the investments. So we put what our investors are, like that we'll do an all day pre-K, 3rd grade reading proficiency, ACT performance. So what we're doing to get that. So, and then we've been handing those out. But we couldn't do them all, so we just picked those two. If anybody wants to look at them, let me know.
Well, we will reconvene at noon. That's about 45 minutes. Unless people just want to do 30. I don't know if anybody's wanting to go run an errand or go eat and come back. I always just sit here and work. So is 12 okay with everybody?
Sounds great.
Perfect. Okay. Enjoy your lunch or whatever it is that you're doing.
And Holly, those are gonna be just wrong in the folder, right? Are those in the folder?
Just an example of one. So you, and they're all a little different based off of the group. So I probably need to just put all of them in there, but feel free to take those. And they need updated already, so just examples.
And what's that? What's the?
Those are my the parent piece for standards-based grade cards.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing this.
You're welcome.
I saw those in there. I had
All
And
the
they're out of
ideas
date.
that you did, That's
great
okay.
ideas.
It gives me a start.
It says
got it,
Common
yeah.
Core, and I'm like, oh no, it's not
Oh, we
called
did,
Common Core.
my kiddos did the Verizon App Challenge, and they won the state and they won the region, so we got $5,000.
Oh.
Not even a grant, it's money. See, there's some pieces of that's like the marketing of pieces like this. We're doing K-12 engineering, STEM. And so what is it, the dream, when I look at the dream.
Yeah, that was
I know my
you could
match.
type it.
Yeah.
So we kind of went through them all. We said, well, we can't. We don't have nothing to say on that one. But we have
No,
nothing
with
to
our
say on that.
graduation requirements too, maybe, something like that, that is how we.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Oh, I was gonna get my cup there.
Bye.
Sorry.
What'd you say? Was that yours?
Yeah.
I'm
Did you
sorry.
use, this is their pictures,
I was
and you
gonna
just
get
did
it.
it, or did you
You guys
take your,
did it.
use your own?
It's good to see you. No, this is actually their stuff.
Okay.
I gotta figure out how
And
to-
so
Oh,
then,
that part
but this
is.
was, so
Stop.
this is
What
their
I see-
stuff.
I don't understand. I must have missed.
Well,
it.
the state is putting these
Come
cards
on.
out just like this. Like this is the
Yeah.
card, and then on
Okay.
the back of it, we put the Crusaders can. So like we matched
Okay.
up like the KSDE, we put dealers and stuff.
Oh, and how are you using these? What are you gonna do with them?
We're
Put 'em
handing
out?
them out.